Fashion is a thriving $25 trillion industry globally. And actually it's exciting to see a focus in the Saudi Arabian market on this particular sector. And in many ways, I think Saudi Arabia can have the advantage of learning from what has already taken place in the world and to some extent leapfrog and not make maybe some of the mistakes that the others did and actually get ahead and create a advanced role in it. Clearly, as the consumers in Saudi Arabia do care about, it's a sector that's important. Clearly, across fashion and luxury, there is also a good degree of the shopping that takes place internationally and abroad. And also, what's clear from all the data that we've seen is that the Saudi customer, when they're shopping this category, is incredibly digitally savvy. So whether it's actually discovering products on social media, sharing with friends again through digital channels, there is a huge openness to be much more digitally savvy here. So we think it's a huge, exciting opportunity for Saudi Arabia to take the leap and almost get ahead and also learn from the lessons that others in the fashion industry have experienced over the decade. I think the big challenges are as follows. Number one is this is a globally connected industry through social media, through digital, and yet you will want a local, manifestation or build on, many of the local values and what matters to sort of create fashion brands that resonate with the, Saudi consumer, and indeed could also resonate to the broader consumer around the world. So I think there is a huge opportunity to think about what can be learned from global brands and how do you create one that is relevant for the Saudi consumer. The second dimension of this is we see the mid-market of fashion worldwide in all of the countries is really struggling. Whether you look at the US, China, the UK, the mid-market is struggling. The two segments that are doing well are value, extremely strong value brands, as well as luxury. So I think Saudi Arabia has a huge opportunity to also be forward-thinking and actually start to think about how they build out in those particular areas, which are in rude health and indeed where there is greatest consumer demand. And the third dimension of this challenge or opportunity, and you can look at it both ways, is that this investment or drive into fashion in Saudi Arabia is now taking place at a time when digital channels and social media are hugely prevalent. I hear the region is the highest consumer of mobile videos in the world. So actually, how can you capitalize on the power of consumers exposed to digital channels to grow and accelerate the creation of a Saudi fashion industry? I think is a hugely exciting both opportunity and challenge. The region is a thriving consumer economy. In fact, we feature it as one of our deep dive countries in our Beyond China feature, because we are looking at businesses and fashion industry players are increasingly sort of waking up to the need to diversify beyond China. And this region presents huge opportunity to do so. And why is that? It's not just because of the shape and nature of the population, which is still a huge proportion of young consumers and growing along nicely, but actually also a very attractive spend base. The consumers here are, travel the world. They're very familiar with the latest concepts from around the world, and also actually, on balance, are high-spending consumers. So we see huge opportunity in this region to drive, to fuel the fashion industry, not just internationally, which I would argue what the consumers have been doing so far, but also within the local market. You might be right in saying that fashion is for women, but certainly what we're also seeing is men are starting to engage much more with fashion and beauty. So I think, we should strive to be a bit more inclusive here. What we're seeing worldwide is a big emphasis in the industry, and we talk about this in State of Fashion 2020, on the theme of inclusive culture. And this does not only mean more women in jobs, in senior positions in fashion companies. This also means much broader diversity and inclusion across the board. We think this is a huge opportunity not just for the workforce, but also for consumers. Consumers today care deeply about brands that represent inclusive values, that are, represent sort of the vision of an empowered woman. So we think this is a huge opportunity and also a way for women in this country to found fashion businesses, to be leaders in this sector, and not just consumers. And we'll see that, across the world, the fashion industry is a huge employer of women. Through the ranks. The record at the most senior levels is a bit more challenged, but it's on the agenda of the industry to work to improve that. But clearly we think there's a huge opportunity for women here to found their own brands, to give fashion their own expression, the Saudi way, and to even create local and global brands that were born here. The other thing about fashion is, and fashion brings people together. It's something people enjoy. It's something where in difficult times you can still always turn to the fashion industry to be a beacon of change, to do good things, and to bring out the best in